As I have proven in my last book, the Bible as we know it today is not the untainted, unadulterated Word of God as most of you want to believe. I'm sorry, but yes, some of the words have been changed to protect the guilty and to lead astray, along with simple, honest mistakes due to the language differences. We are going to examine some of these mistakes and misunderstandings that has confused the masses and confounded the elect. What I mean is, the story must make sense. That is exactly what it is. A story, written for a specific people, chronicling the very beginnings of that people, their triumphs, their fall, and their promises. Hint: when you read something that does not make sense or is contradictory to the premise of the story, it is probably the result of Satan's little helper's pen. What has happened is this same history book was hijacked, changed, and translated by people who had limited to no knowledge of the unique culture with all the nuances and mannerisms every different culture has. Even in their attempts to fix their mistakes in the form of a concordance, the results are less than desirable. The problem with solely using a concordance and not injecting wisdom and common sense is that the concordance only translated the words already written in English. Meaning, if the English word was translated to convey the wrong meaning, your concordance most likely will not pick up on the problem. I said most likely because there are a few instances where they do find a problem and relay that information to the reader. Allow me to ask you a question, gentle strangers. If I were to ask you who were the first people created on earth, what would you say? Just about everybody from Aunt Ethel to Uncle Buck would say, Adam and Eve, dummy. Not understanding it is them which may lack understanding on the matter. Let me explain. So-called African Americans speak in the tongue and after the manner of the Anglo-Saxon, and it is said the English language is the most complicated in the world to master. It is this fact that makes reading the English Bible so hard to read if you are looking for a complete understanding. It is a known fact that many, and I mean many words that were written in Aramaic and Hebrew are not synonymous in English. According to the Webster's Dictionary under synonymous, quote, equivalent or similar in meaning. This forced the translators to either add one, two, or even three words to try to convey the same meaning as the original word. When you see a word that is italicized in the text, it was a word that was added to the text that was not in the original manuscript. The use of articles and particles in the Hebrew language also causes the translators to misrepresent words that were intended to mean a totally different meaning, although to the English reader, the words are the same. Surely I do not need to tell you this is a huge problem that must be detected and addressed before you can come into the full understanding of the nature of things. Let's take the simple and common word Adam, in Hebrew Adam, for instance. Did you know there are at least 3 different Hebrew meanings for that one English word? This causes nothing but problems to the true believer, in that we, true believers, are not getting the full effect of the word as it was intended. With the help of Yah, I will try to uncover this little mystery that has befuddled my people. In the original text, the English word Adam not only meant a specific man, but with the help of an article and a particle or two, it also meant mankind. I know this is confusing to the English reader because in English, Adam is always a proper name. This is not so in Hebrew. In English, we would say man opposed to mankind. But in Hebrew, it would be Adam as opposed to Adamkind, which of course is not really a word, consequently raising the translation problem. This may not mean anything to you right now, but just hold your horses for a minute. We are going to deal with just 3 of the meanings in this book. The first Hebrew meaning for the English word Adam is 1. Adam, which is man, any man, men, mankind. 2. Ha-Adam, with an article, is the man. 3. Eth-ha-Adam, with article and particle, is this particular man. I know it sounds as though I'm playing on words, but the difference in the meanings will be the difference between a spiritual awakening and a spiritual death. I know everyone from Deacon Jones to Pastor Jenkins will say that chapter 2 is just giving us more detail about the creation of man that was written in chapter 1. I got one word for you: bullocks. Unless the Tanakh is not correct, Yah forbid, the stories are exactly the opposite once you research and use all the tools available to you. You don't believe me? To get the fullness of this explanation, you must use the knowledge we had just went over. All right. Number 1. In chapter 1, they, which is plural, were created. In chapter 2, the specific singular Adam was formed. Now, when you do your research, you'll see, and in the book, I have all this down, but for this video, I had to cut well more than half of it out. So, please go with me. Jot down. Make sure that you jot down what I'm saying. Go back and check it out, and hopefully, I've done my research right, and I'll show myself approved by this. But when you look at the words created and the words formed, they're two totally different words with two totally different meanings. So let's go to number 2. In chapter 1, they are created male and female at the same time. No rib action here. But in chapter 2, Adam is formed sometime before Eve. She was later made from him. This is backed up later in Genesis 5 and 2. Quote, male and female created he them, and blessed them, and called their name Adam, which is mankind. There's no article or particle there. In the day they were created. Example, this has to be referring to the creation of mankind because both the male and female were 1. Created, 2. Created together, 3. They were blessed. This did not happen with the specific Adam. In fact, not only did he not get blessed, he was the first human cursed. Not only that, but when you research the Strong's Hebrew lexicon, you will notice that the original authors knew exactly what they were doing, or what he was doing, in that the word Adam in Genesis 5 and 2 has the same meaning, Strong's number 120, as stated in Genesis 1. Likewise, the word Adam in Genesis 5 and 3 has the same meaning, Strong's number 121, as the specific Adam that was formed in Genesis 2. The Adam in Genesis 5 and 1, Strong's 121, is the exact same as in Genesis 5 and 3. The Adam talked about in Genesis 5 and 2 has the same meaning as the Adam in Genesis 1, which is Strong's 120. So, either verse 2 should not be there. Oh, okay, back it up. Okay. So, either verse 2 should not be there, or the ancients knew the difference in the creation story, and it's just we, being thousands of years removed, are the only ones in the dark. Oh yeah, if they were created together, where was Eve when Yah was explaining about what tree he could eat and which tree he could not eat? Was she in the bathroom powdering her nose at the time? No, she came much later. Let's go on. Number 3. In chapter 1, the plants and animals were created before mankind. But in chapter 2, the specific Adam was formed before the animals. Number 4, in chapter 1, they were created mortal. In chapter 2, Adam was given the breath of life and became a living soul. Remember, the specific Adam would have lived forever if he had not fell from grace. Sidebar question. Look at Genesis 6 and 3. What does "for that he also is flesh"? What does that mean? Who else is there? He is also flesh. What that means there's somebody other than Adam. You'll see. Let's keep going. Number 5. In chapter 1, we see that God, Elohim, number 430, created mankind. And in chapter 2, we see Yah, number 433, with the article, formed the specific man. 6. In chapter 1, they were told to multiply and replenish the earth. No such command was given to the specific Adam and Eve. It was not until after the flood was the lineage of Adam told to multiply. That's in Genesis 9 and 1. 7. Eve was made from specific Adam after the domestic animals were formed, whilst female mankind was created alongside male after the wild animals. And that's the difference, is the beast of the field and the beast of the earth. Sidebar statement. The word used in Genesis 2 and 22 is, I don't know how to say it, but it's A-I-S-H-A-A-H, which means a woman, which is specific compared to I-S-H-A-A-H, which means woman. 8. Mankind was told, Genesis 1 and 29, quote, "And Elohim said, Behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed, which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat." But the specific Adam was told, Genesis 2, 8 through 17. I think you know my style, I may skip. Quote, "And Yah planted a garden eastward in Eden, and there he put the man whom he had formed. And out of the ground made Yah grow every tree that is pleasant to the sight, and good for food. And the tree of life also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil." And keep going. "And Yah took the man and put him into the garden of Eden to dress it and to keep it. And Yah commanded the man, saying, Of every tree of the garden thou mayest eat freely, but of the tree of knowledge of good and evil thou shalt not eat of it." Example. Now, mankind was told he could eat every herb and every tree on the face of the earth, which, by the way, was already fully grown vegetation. Did you catch that? How do I know that? Because of the words "have given" and "is" in Genesis 1 and 29, which denotes a subject already into play. Quote, "And God said, Behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed, which is upon the face of the earth, and every tree in which is the fruit of the tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat." On the other hand, the specific Adam was formed first. Afterwards, he was placed into a garden wherein Yah had to then grow his food. Did you catch that? Let me say that again. On the other hand, the specific Adam was formed first. Afterwards, he was placed into a garden wherein Yah had to then grow his food. And it was not until a time after that that animals was formed. But wait! Unlike mankind, the specific Adam was given special instructions and limitations on the trees that he could and could not eat from. Why would he tell them they could eat of every tree of the whole world if he was just going to put this guy in a garden, whereas if things were have to went according to plan, he would never have left the garden in the first place? Not to mention the command to dress it and guard it. Did you catch that? Yeah, I said guard it. According to Strong's Hebrew lexicon under shamar, which is number 8104, quote, 1. To keep, guard, observe, give heed. 2. To keep, guard, keep watch, and ward, protect, save life. Example. Kind of makes sense if you really look at it. Why? Because speaking as the English do, to dress and to keep a garden is basically the same thing. To the English reader, this should have been a redundant statement. If you don't believe me or are still not convinced, look at the same word, shamar, and how it is used in Genesis 3:24. Quote, so he drove out the man, and he placed at the east of the Garden of Eden cherubims, and a flaming sword which turned every way, to keep the way of the tree of life. Keep, again, is shamar. So this is to guard, to protect. Sure sounds like you better not go messing with that brother, or those brothers. Doesn't look like they were put there into position to plant corn or potatoes. May I ask you a question, gentle strangers? Who was Adam guarding the garden from? Did Adam know that there were other people on earth besides him? This statement from Yah confirms other beings besides the brother he just formed. Why else would Yah give him the command to guard his garden if there was no other people to guard it from? Remember, at the time of the command, even Eve wasn't on the scene yet. So who on earth was he to protect the garden from? You know, we're going to stop there. Please. We just started, as you can see. We just starting. We just getting to the meat. So, come along with me. Thank you for looking at this video. And look for the next, part 2.